Every day, politics seems to resemble Hollywood more and more, and I don't think that's a good thing. One thing I would hope that you'd ask yourself is if the political commentators and pundits who you watch treat politics like a big show or like there are actual real stakes to the game, right? A good example of this is, when is the last time that you heard a major political commentator or pundit talk about K through 12 education savings accounts? It's probably been a long time, if ever. Yet that policy alone is probably one of the most significant policies for American families. Most American families can't choose to send their kid to whatever school they want because they simply don't have the funds. Instead, their child is literally restricted in educational choice by their zip code. And so you can imagine that if a family that has 4 kids is stuck in a really bad school district, well, one of the policies that probably matters most to them would be if they could actually take the money that is being used to educate their child at a public school and use it instead to send their child to a private or charter school or a combination of educational providers to give them the best education. And yet, political commentators and pundits instead talk about what has essentially become a soap opera, like a daily soap opera of politics and drama, instead of the policies that actually matter to people. I mean, I'm not a parent right now, but I can only imagine if I had 4 kids, how beneficial a K-12 education savings account would be. And yet almost no one talks about it. Instead, it's just drama, drama, drama. And it's not just about ESAs, by the way. You can apply Social Security reform, ending the federal student loan program, restricting government spending. And I think part of the reason that these topics aren't talked about particularly much is because, with the exception of ESAs, topics like ending the federal student loan program, reforming Social Security, are hard solutions, right? They're not exactly things that people necessarily want to think about on a daily basis, just like an addict might not want to think about not taking the medicine, but stopping taking the drugs, right? He doesn't want to have to think about the hard thing of withdrawal if he gets off the drugs he's addicted to or starts taking some medication that will help him end his addiction or something like that, because there's obviously unpleasant side effects that come along with that. And so I'll just point out a couple of objections I'm expecting to hear here is, well, what about when I made my video on Nick Fuentes, right? Was that just participating in drama? And I think I don't think that's participating in drama, actually. And here's why. It matters if your party is suddenly embracing someone like Nick Fuentes, who is essentially, Coleman Hughes kind of pointed this out in a video, and it's exceptionally true if you watch any of his clips, as I had to do for that video. Fuentes is essentially two-faced. There's really no other way to put it. The persona and the positions that he talks about on his live stream is a good amount different from what you'll see when he appears on mainstream podcasts. And so when you mainstream a guy like that, you can't just look at the positions he's talking about when he's on a mainstream show. You have to look at the positions he's talking about when he's also talking to his live stream in front of hundreds of thousands of people. Because, someone might see him on the podcast and see views that aren't quite as extreme, but then if they follow him over to Rumble and watch his live stream, well, the positions he talks about there seem far more extreme. And so it's not talking about drama to want to criticize mainstreaming this guy who, frankly, would be, in my view, quite obviously detrimental to the conservative movement in accomplishing all the things I just mentioned. Adding Nick Fuentes as a mainstream conservative figure is going to make it much, much more difficult to get educational savings accounts for K-12 students, because that policy of ESAs is a primarily Republican policy. And if Nick Fuentes becomes a face of the Republican Party, good luck winning elections. Good luck winning over moderates. Good luck even keeping principled conservatives. And so me making the video about why Nick Fuentes has no place in the conservative movement is not participating in the daily soap opera as I just described earlier. It's actually saying, because I want all these things I just mentioned, like ending the federal student loan program, K-12 ESAs, reforming Social Security, lowering government spending. It's because I want all those things that I have to make this video opposing this and trying to get people to oppose the mainstreaming of this guy who's going to make it fundamentally more difficult to pass any of these things that would help Americans. And I think that's the principal objection I'm expecting to hear. I do think I might put out one more video on Fuentes. I don't know yet. Some people have been asking why I removed that video from YouTube. I already said in a YouTube post, not a video, but just a text post. The reason I removed it is because I should have thought more carefully through whether including the clips I did from him without adding on any additional filters beyond where I found the clips, like bleeping words out, etc. I should have thought through whether that could possibly trigger some sort of automated flag in YouTube's system or some sort of strike or potentially a suspension or a ban. But I'm not intimately familiar with YouTube's terms of service. And so I thought about it for a bit and I was like, okay, it probably makes sense to actually just go ahead and take this video down because I don't want to risk it getting potentially automatically flagged by something that Fuentes said in the clip that I was critical of, but YouTube possibly not understanding the context if they have some sort of automated system, which I don't know if they have, but I would guess they probably do. And so I don't think I understand YouTube's terms of service well enough or necessarily trust the systems they have in place well enough to leave that video up, though it is still up on my website. And I pointed that out in the post that I made there. It is still up on my website if you want to view it. As of right now, it's also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and on Twitter as well. It's just I'm concerned a little bit about YouTube, especially because that's my biggest platform at this point. I don't want to lose it. So that's why I took that video down for those wondering. With that said, I think that covers everything I want to cover in this video. So if you do want to support me, you can check the description for links. One link in particular would be the link to where I sell merch, like the sweatshirt. If you want to support the channel, buying my merch is one of the primary ways that you can do that. With that said, subscribe, maybe drop a comment, letting me know what policies you think Republicans should be focused most on pushing that would actually help Americans the most. With that said, I'll see you in the next video.